Hey everyone, it's me, Kaylin. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be telling you about a time when my house came very close to burning all the way down. Now, for those of you who don't know, I am a New Yorker living in Namibia, and my husband and I built our home here in Namibia in 2019, and we moved in early 2020, right before the pandemic started. And if you'd like to see a tour of our house right before we moved in, you can watch that video right here. In 2020 and 2021, in those first 2 years of us living here, I got way more experiences with fires than I ever thought possible. And I never had any experience with house fires or brush fires or anything like that before in my entire life. And so a little bit of a background about Namibia, we have a rainy season and a dry season. And so during the dry season, conditions here are very dry and can be windy, which are the perfect conditions for wildfires to start. And when we first moved into our house, we were one of the first people to build in this neighborhood. It was a brand new neighborhood. They call them extensions here. So it was a brand new extension. We were one of the first houses to build here, which means there was a lot of open space and grass that was totally unbuilt on right in our neighborhood all around us. Now, I really thought that was beautiful and scenic, but it turns out that those conditions are actually extremely dangerous to have lots of dry grass around your house. In a country like Namibia, it is very easy for a brush fire to start, and that is exactly what kept happening in our neighborhood. So the first thing that started happening around August of 2020, I just happened to be looking out of my window sometimes, and I would see in the distance, but not that far away from my house, and I would notice just in the short distance away from my house, a random fire and smoke. And so I would walk out of my house and go take a look, and there was a brush fire basically starting in my neighborhood. So first I'm gonna show you the footage of that.
Wait till my dad sees this. He's gonna be like, bye. Dude. All right, I'm out of here. I'm sorry. I'm not a fool.
Now, in that video, you saw that the fire brigade actually came to help put out the fire. Now, they didn't come with water or hoses. What they did was they came with actual things to cut down the grass, because the more you cut down the grass and sort of scoot it out of the way and just burn it, the less the fire has to feed on and the quicker the fire will die out. A lot of people would just drive by this fire and as if it was not a big deal. Well, I was like, wow, like that's kind of scary. There's a fire in our neighborhood just burning on its own. You know, that to me was pretty like a little bit jarring. You know, I'd never seen fire like that before. Now I'm going to fast forward a little bit. A couple of weeks later, I was at this time a couple of months pregnant with my daughter. Again, this is 2020 around August. So I was a couple of months pregnant with my daughter, and my mother-in-law was actually visiting from her village, which is about 5 to 6 hours north of where we live here in Namibia. So my mother-in-law was visiting, and one morning I was in my bedroom and I heard this funny, odd sound coming from the window in my bedroom. And so I went to look out of the window. The sound was crackling of flames, literally just behind the wall of our house. Not the wall of the house, but we have a wall built around our house. And I look out of the window and there are plumes of fire right outside of the border of our property. So I went and told my mother-in-law and my husband. They immediately exit the property. Now, let me just give a quick footnote. My mother-in-law at this time was at least 70 years old. She is so healthy and strong. Her physical fitness is like amazing for someone her age. And I can clearly see that comes from the extremely healthy lifestyle that she lives in the village. Not a lot of sugar, a lot of eating from what is grown in their ground, fresh food. And also their lifestyle is very physically laborious. So she is very fit. I've noticed that about older people in their community, they are very fit. So her and my husband go outside of the yard and they have a machete and a rake and they just start chopping down grass. And they're pretty close to the fire, which is quietly spreading just around our house. So they are going there to chop down the grass. Again, the strategy is that if you cut down the grass, it will remove what is causing the fire to spread, and eventually the fire will put itself out. So here's the video of them doing that. I was amazed.
Careful, guys. Come. Careful, Paulus. Paulus, get over here. Jesus. Paulus. And they're still not here yet. It won't go in the street? It won't go in the street?
So when they were doing this, honestly, guys, although I could tell they knew what they were doing, I was still worried because I felt like a fire is unpredictable. And if a wind blows, for example, in a certain direction, it could jump and hit them. I felt like they were too close for my comfort, but they handled that fire like a boss. My husband did call the municipality or the fire brigade, and the fire brigade did come, but for the most part, they had handled it on their own. This third incident was in 2021. This, again, a year later during the dry season in August. And this is the time where it got really serious. This happened in the nighttime. I don't remember exactly how I became aware that all around our house was basically on fire, but it was in the nighttime. It was dark outside. And I think it may have been our dogs barking, or I may have smelled something. But I looked outside, and to my surprise, there were little fires way back, like a block behind my house, next to our house, 2 blocks ahead. Like, there were just these little pockets of fires that were pretty tall, but these individual pockets of fires, I think the wind had blown maybe embers, so they were just sprouting up. And before you know it, on the side of our house, there was a huge fire. Across the street from our house, a huge raging fire. Behind our house, a huge fire. 3/4 of our house was covered with pretty strong fires. The last quarter, actually, by that time, someone had built a house right next to us. But this time it got really serious. We had 2 dogs, so I immediately brought them inside. Our neighbors came outside. Everybody was sort of like, okay, you know what? We have to do something. We need to call the fire department because this is serious and it's rapidly getting really, really out of control. The fire brigade did come, and I'm going to show you the video of this fire and my reaction as the whole thing just unfolded in the night around our house.
This is ridiculous. Again, they're getting bigger. There's one, why are they all over the place? I don't understand. How is it on this side of the street and that side of the street? Did somebody set fires? The dogs. Hold up. Let me go get the dog. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. What should we do, Paulus? Should we call them? It's okay, guys.
Oh. Hey, sick. Yeah.
Oh my god. This is ridiculous. Yo, I am done with the freaking dry season. Like, the fire season? Nah. Nope. Yo, we're surrounded? Oh, hell no. Don't tell me there's fire on this side, too. Are y'all serious? Oh my god. Oh, wait, hold on a second. This cannot be happening. Hold up. What the hell? Our whole house is surrounded by fire? No. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Are you kidding me? Oh hell no. Nope. No. You cannot.
I know.
So As you guys can see, that time was really, really serious and terrifying. I could not believe the raging fires that were all around our house. The fire brigade, again, they did not come putting out the fire with water. What they did was they were strategic about cutting down the grass and moving it away. And then they would also light a piece of grass and put it on a piece of grass that hadn't burned yet in an area that had no fire, just to burn that grass in a smaller fire. The goal was we need to burn all of this grass so that the fire has nothing to feed off of. After these experiences, I definitely developed wildfire anxiety. It was to the point where I was constantly just checking out the windows of my house just to make sure, is anything starting somewhere? Like I had like a bit of a paranoia develop from these experiences because I had no idea that this was even really a thing. I knew that wildfires happened in Namibia, but I just did not ever think that it could happen this close to where I live. I don't live in a rural area. I live in a pretty developed town here in central Namibia. But because there was so much grass and open space around in my neighborhood at that time, it didn't matter. It was the perfect conditions for wildfires to start. Here's my advice for you if you are considering building in the motherland or any part of the world that is fire prone. Number one, if you smell something burning, don't ignore it. Go out, look out your windows, always be aware of what is happening, because that is exactly sometimes how I was cued on to the fact that there was a wildfire starting somewhere nearby. Number two, listen to the sounds. Be aware of what's happening outside of your house. If your dogs are kind of barking crazy, if you hear an odd sound like crackling, which I didn't even know that I had never heard the sound of fire crackling to that extent. But if you hear a really odd sound that you don't normally hear in your neighborhood, go look out of the window, go step outside of your house, investigate. Don't ignore things that are happening. Just be aware. Number three, as I've mentioned, I used to think that tall grass, all the tall grass in the neighborhood, it was so scenic. It was so beautiful. Just to have that scenery around your house, I really thought it was so visually beautiful. And it is. But at the same time, depending on the type of climate that you're living in, and if you're living in a dry climate like Namibia, it is extremely dangerous. And fires can start just from those grasses. My advice is to make the time to cut grasses around your house. Cut them even, I know it's not your property, it's not your responsibility necessarily, but it is. Because it's a lot safer if the grasses around your house are cut down low, or just chopped down, unfortunately, it reduces the chances of fires starting right around your neighborhood. Also, it reduces the possibility of certain vermins that get attracted to tall grass, like snakes. That's a big thing. It reduces the chance of them coming around your neighborhood really close to your house, possibly entering your property when the grasses are kept low. Really, my biggest takeaway also is that Namibians are just really comfortable with fire management. And that is not something that I have any experience in, but because, for example, my mother-in-law and my husband, they are from a rural area in northern Namibia where there's their homestead in the village and huge, vast amounts of open space. It is not an urban area at all. Brush fires start up there very easily. They also intentionally sometimes start fires just to burn garbage. Naturally, that's something that they do. And they are skilled in knowing how to start a fire without it totally getting out of control. So they have experience in managing those situations so that their entire homestead doesn't burn down. And it doesn't automatically send them into a panic like it did for me. Because if you notice, between my husband, my mother-in-law, and the fire brigade, everybody was so cool, calm, and collected. And I found that amazing. I had no experience around fire. I would not know the first thing to do. For me, it was really like, what the heck is happening? I have even seen construction workers in my neighborhood. They will clear off a property that they're getting ready to build on. They will actually clear off the land, clear off the grass and the bushes just by starting a fire. And those fires will sometimes get pretty big, right adjacent to a house that's already built for somebody else. And I'm always like, wow, like that's pretty amazing that the owner of this house is comfortable with the plot next to them having this huge fire burn just to clear the grass. But that is something that happens here. And I always notice, and I'm always amazed by the fact that the construction workers, they are very calm. It's not a big deal for them to have this big, huge fire burning, and they manage it and nobody seems to be panicking. People are driving around and that's it. Nothing really ever happens. Now, don't get me wrong. Fires do happen here, unfortunately, especially in the informal settlements that destroy people's livelihoods. For example, when I say informal settlements, it's certain communities where there may be a lot of shacks that are very close to each other, and maybe somebody left something cooking on the stove, or something happened that caused a fire, and then it quickly spreads because the community is so crowded, people's livelihoods are totally decimated. So that's not to say that nothing ever happens here. It does, but I still feel like Namibians are very, very wise and handy when it comes to managing fires. All right, guys, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this story time and took away a little bit of something about wildfires. If you are considering a move to the motherland or anywhere around the world that has this dry sort of condition, these are good things, I think, to keep in mind, not only for building a house, but even if you just happen to go camping on a game drive or something like that here in Namibia. If you come during a certain time of year, just things to be aware of, because they were not at the forefront of my mind. I really never thought that it was something that could happen this close to me. And wildfires are no joke, and they can start over nothing. If you're going camping, be mindful of how you put out any fires. If you were, maybe braaiing or barbecuing, be very careful, because in certain countries, certain geographies, the conditions are prime for a massive fire to start, and it happens very fast. All right, guys, share your feedback, your comments, your reflections on natural disasters that you didn't have any experience with, but just found yourself in those conditions. And how did you navigate them at home or abroad? Thanks so much for watching. Till next time.